Hello, everyone. I'm just saying, we got 4 people on. Awesome. Welcome, everyone, to the Soul Connection. Melissa Culbertson here with my husband, Brent, co-host here. So, Soul Connection, real stories from real people. So, for those of you that are new tuning in, I am a medium by trade here, I guess you say, full-time medium, and I do other spiritual healing work with sound healing and energy work. So this program is about people that I've met through my work that I've given readings to, or they've partaken in some of my classes that I've met maybe through my sound healing studio as well. So tonight I have the pleasure of introducing you to a wonderful lady in the healing community. Tamara Ambrose is our guest tonight. So welcome, Tamara. We'll bring her in.
I'm so happy to be here in this moment with you.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming on. So Tamara is in Galena, Illinois at Enchanted Herbs. She's in her shop. You can see that you're in your shop there. So
the purple walls, the gold cap.
Yes. So tonight I wanted Tamara to come on and talk a little bit about her spiritual journey. And she's also had the loss of a child, her daughter, and also sharing a little bit about the trauma alchemist part and your herbalism too. So we want to talk about lots of things. We have lots of things to talk about here tonight. And I know that she's going to touch a lot of people with her story here. So we met at the Center of I Am Metaphysical Store in, it would have been like maybe 2019 or so.
We actually met at Captain Mary.
Oh, okay. It's been a long, that's.
I came in with Allison, a friend of mine, and she was having a reading. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that was probably more than 5 years ago then, I'm guessing. So yes. So we got lots of people on here. We got Deb and Robin, Kathy, Darlene. Thanks for joining us here tonight. So what started you on your spiritual journey, Tamara?
Oh, wow. Well, I was born.
That's a good answer.
Good start.
Really, I think that my entire life has been a series of unfortunate events up until recently, and those kinds of things tend to align you closely with spirit. But I would say that my spiritual journey did not begin when I was a child going to church. Although I could feel spirit then, I was not really that connected to what I was doing at that time, religion-wise. However, a little further along, about 11 years of age, maybe I was about 12 actually, my uncle died. And at that point, I never really realized that I could feel spirit that strongly. But in that moment, I received this urgent sort of like need to move my grandmother to a different location. We didn't know that he had passed away. I just all of a sudden felt like we have to go to my dad's house and we have to go right now. And I was a very sweet, quiet girl. And so I became very demanding, and I could see that my grandmother was a little upset. Like, why do you want to go right now to your dad's house? But I just felt this deep need to move ourselves to my dad's house in that moment. And she did oblige. And on the way, we met my dad coming really quickly down the road, and he let us know that my uncle had passed away. And it was a really big moment. My grandmother was diabetic. She went into a diabetic shock. So I feel like maybe spirit was just trying to get me to bring her to a place of safety. And I knew that in that moment. And I realized in that moment, wow, there's something going on here. So I kind of just tucked that away. And I really struggled throughout my teen years to connect because I just saw so much. What is the word? Oh, of course, I can't think of the word, but I was involved in evangelical religious sort of experience, and it did not resonate with me at all. And I questioned a lot of it. And because I questioned a lot of it, people didn't really like me around in that experience. So
Wow, okay.
it pushed me to explore for myself. And in college, I came across Buddhism. I connected very deeply with Buddhism. It sounded like I thought, and it resonated really deeply with me. Of course, I've always been influenced by nature. It's been extremely dear to me through my entire life. As I said, I had experienced a lot of trauma in my, my life. So when I would experience that trauma in my childhood, I have a lot of time that I don't remember. I don't have, a lot of memories during that time, but I could describe every garden I visited, every yard. I could draw it, right? So that's I think that's where it began, really was me searching outside of the experience I'd had, which did not work for me, and searching for something. And really coming to the decision that I was atheist, actually, and that I didn't believe in anything at all. And then having an experience of a tarot reading that blew my mind. That really made me question everything. And that's when I became open and realized I didn't know anything. I thought I knew stuff, but I didn't know anything. So
yeah. And I think it's important for people to know, especially if there's younger people watching too, that, if you're going down a path because of, maybe how your family was raised and, their belief system, that you don't always have to follow that just because it's the norm and it's what we've always done. I have similar experience too. Like I just always felt connected in the church. I felt some presence, but like, as I got older too, I kind of I've drifted away from different parts of my Christianity, I guess you'd say. I do connect with other faiths as well. And I feel like they're all connected in some way anyways. So, but this, being spiritual, I guess, encompassing is it's important. I don't know. I hate it when people put labels on others that, we should, I don't know, just be more inclusive. What was I going to say? Guess I was supposed to say that. So, you said,
I'm sorry, going back to that, people want to put labels on things. I feel that one of our human fatal flaws is that we think that other people need to think and experience things like we do, instead of just going through life thinking, oh, they have their complete whole belief system that's different from mine, and none of us are going to believe the same. If we all knew that none of us believed the same and we accepted that, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What we could do with that kind of energy of just accepting other people in their own, beliefs. As long as it's not harmful. And I think that's the reason we become contentious, is because what do we view harm? How do we view harm? Some people have a different definition than we do.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. Yeah. What works for one doesn't work for the other. It doesn't make it good or bad. It doesn't, who's to say?
Yeah. And you bring up the fact that, we navigated our younger lives. There's family involved there too. And our family also has their opinion. And so I did also really struggle with my family accepting me for the beliefs that I had, with the beliefs that I had. That lasted for quite a while as well.
Yeah. And I think in the realm of the work that we do too, there is a stigmatism to things too. And I had that in my family, and it's well, no, I'm still the same person that you've known your whole life. I haven't changed anything.
Miraculously change,
Yes. You're just an evil demon. Oh, I don't know.
I am, but still, I'm nice too.
Yes, we all have our sides. So Kathy says that we have to fit in a groove, and it really does hold us back. Yeah, it does hold us back.
Yes.
So, yeah. So like I said, we met at the Captain Mary. You came in for a reading, and then so again, I remember us connecting at the center, and you coming in for readings. And this was prior to things going on with your daughter too. So you're just kind of connecting and seeing what was going on with her and her health. So can you kind of just share a little bit about that journey and how that it affected you in your life?
Right. So, well, in my family, everyone had babies before they were like 20 years old. And I did too. I became pregnant at 19. It was not something that I expected to happen. It's not something that I planned at all. And I decided, okay, here I am. I'm going to be a parent. And it turned out to be the most amazing journey of my life. Like, I am neurodiverse, and so I have trouble like connecting to people emotionally sometimes. But when this child came into my life, my whole life was about her. And she was magical and amazing in every way, of course. Our children are. So I had such a fun time watching her grow, and I was super connected to her. And I knew I would always think to myself, I'm a young parent, but first of all, I can get out of, like she's going to leave the nest before I'm even 40. But also, like, I'm a young parent. One of these days, we're going to be really good friends because we're going to be able to connect on that level too, being closer in age. And we did, in fact, do that. So it was a really beautiful journey that I had with her in her life before I had my other child, who I also have a son, and my son was born when my daughter was, I think, 8 or 9. So, I had these 2 precious children that I have been raising mostly on my own. And I have been with, multiple abusive partners. So I was navigating this life with my children who are also neurodiverse, with abusive partners, and working full time. I was a business owner for a long time. I was an artist. I was a photographer for many years. And I carried us with no insurance. I scraped and scrapped, and I made a living to support my children. And, we get through all of that, and then things start to go right all of a sudden. All of a sudden, I have like a fabulous partner, and my daughter finds a good partner, and everything's going wonderfully. She actually had a baby when she was 16. So she graduated high school early. She worked. I had my grandson like 12 hours a day during that time. And she worked full time, and she was fine. There, look how beautiful. I mean, she's gorgeous. And look at my grandson. I mean, come on, like gorgeous.
Yes. I've got a few pictures of your daughter. If we want to pull them up there too.
Right. So I keep saying I was in Toastmasters. I should not be saying right now. I'll just tell you that.
That's okay.
This wonderful story where she's going to college. And let me tell you, my daughter was brilliant. She was so brilliant that she was responsible in 2 schools for raising the test scores in science and math, both the 7th grade and 9th grade in 2 different states, right? She was brilliant. She went to college. She tells me, I'm going to be an astrophysicist. And I'm laughing like, what? You're an artist. Like, what are you doing? And she's like, well, I can be an astrophysicist. I'm like, yeah, you can. Like, go for it. So she was kind of on that sort of path. And then she was like, well, no, wait, Mom, I decided I actually am an artist. I'm going to change my direction, but I do love math and science. So, I'm going to do both of those things. And she was having a great time of life. She was working with great people. She was, parenting her son, and she had a decent relationship. And then all of a sudden, she was diagnosed with a really rare, very aggressive childhood cancer. So we know that she had probably had it for a while. And she was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma. The funny thing is that a couple years before that, she had told me, hey, I have this weird little bump on my rib, and it's just so strange. I always play with it. And I thought, well, we all have these weird bumps here and there on our bones from, whatever life trauma we've been through. And I encouraged her at that time, like, you need to tell your doctor, but we just kind of forgot about it. By the time they realized, she was having a really hard time with breathing, and she was struggling to breathe. She, of course, didn't have much oxygen, because the tumor had grown to a grapefruit size, like softball grapefruit size, and was inside of her ribs. So when I met you, actually, it was in the interim of she had actually been, in remission. And then you were the one that said, your daughter, she has lung cancer. And then I knew that it was back.
Okay.
I knew that it would come back, but we had hope that possibly some miracle would occur. It was really at that time when the cancer came back that I realized, first of all, my daughter had taught herself how to be a medium. She was incredibly accurate. So I knew that I could do the same thing, right? So I thought to myself, there has been nothing in this world that has kept me from being with my daughter. Why would I let something outside of this world keep me from my daughter? So at that time, I decided, I'm going to learn this. I know that I have this connection. I believe we all do. But I know that I had this connection and it was strong, and that all I had to do was really apply myself. And so basically, 2 years before she ever passed, I started dedicating myself to learning how to communicate with spirit. And so I don't know where to go from here. So basically, yes, it was a really difficult journey, and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, but sometimes there we are, right?
Right.
So what do? I certainly sat down and cried often, on the floor of my shower, bawling my eyes out, begging spirit to please don't take my daughter, like, not my daughter. Please don't take her from me. And then I would come to this reality of, like, that spirit didn't cause her to have cancer, and spirit is not taking her from me. This is part of our life path. And as horrible as it is, thank goodness I loved her so much that it hurt that bad. Thank goodness I was that connected to her that it hurt so deeply, and I still feel that way. I still feel, thank goodness that I loved her that much that it hurts this bad.
Yeah. So are you, like, connecting with her on a regular basis? Are you able to do that? Is it easy for you to do that too?
It's kind of funny. So basically, all those trips to the hospital where we would drive, I would always take tarot cards with me, and she would roll her eyeballs, and she'd be like, oh, brother, like, she was just over it. But at the same time, I knew that she really was afraid that we wouldn't be connected either. So I would say that the very first connection that I felt with her was when she was, it was the day before she passed. I left because I didn't want, I'm neurodiverse. When things get in my brain, I will literally just keep cycling them over and over and over again. And I had told her before she passed, she was not conscious at that time, but I had told her, like, endings are very difficult for me, and I don't know that I can watch yours, and so I left the night before, and I sat in meditation, and that was the very first time that I connected with a human being. I had always been connecting with plants. So I literally felt the constriction in my lungs. I felt the inability to breathe. I felt the fuzziness of the morphine. I felt that. I felt all of it, and I just held her in that space and that energy. Then she passed on the next day, and I was not aware that she passed. At that point, he had become a really kind of evil character in our lives, like in a lot of ways. But he did not tell me that she passed. And so I was sitting outside. I just felt the need to go outside and just be in nature. And I was thinking about her. I was talking to her. And all of a sudden, this bliss washed over me. I felt her energy just explode in bliss. And I started talking. I just started saying, oh my gosh, because I didn't know that she passed. I said, babe, you are going to love when you're gone. I'm so jealous because you're going to see what that's like. You're going to feel that release. You are going to experience what we've been talking about for so long, like what's on the other side. You're going to get to be there, and I'm going to still talk to you. So, you go. It's okay to go. And that was actually right when she was dying. I found out later. So
wow.
I connected with her in that moment as well. And, like I said, I had connected with plants before, and I never felt people. So when she passed, that's when I started doing the diligent work, of I'm going to work on this. I'm going to work on this connection. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I was really hurting, but I was talking to her all the time. And I'm telling her, send me your signs. We had always shared dead birds, pictures of dead birds. I know. Totally weird. But all of a sudden, I would have these like random, really amazing dead birds that I would just stumble across. But the coolest thing was that she started giving me the tiniest, most detailed bird feathers. They weren't bird feathers. They were bird feathers. Like,
oh, wow.
tiny. They would be red, they'd be blue, they'd have stripes, just crazy things. And I knew that she was bringing them to me. So that's how we communicated at first. And what I did was, in that moment, I was so overcome with just the grief that I was experiencing from her passing, and dealing with my grandson, I have become that connection for him, that safe place where that person that he could, talk to and cry with. So I was dealing with all of that. And I decided that I would redo my entire front yard. It was that very sweltering year where the bulb wick temperature, it was so high that you couldn't cool down. And I was out in my yard, and I didn't realize how dangerous it was. I was out in my yard digging up every bed, digging up everything, hauling these giant pieces of concrete staves to make beds, to make terraces. And my heart would start thumping, and I'd stop and go and rest in the shade. And then I would come back to it. And all of a sudden, one day I just heard, stop, sit the down. I'm not going to cuss a lot. So I just heard, stop, sit the down, be still. And it was her. And that was the first time really that I got this strong message from her. And it was, her voice and everything. And so I did that. I listened. I went and I sat and I started sitting every morning for at least an hour. I would just meditate. And I had always struggled with meditation. So to clear my mind was really difficult. I already knew that. But it's funny how you can't clear your mind for 15 minutes, but maybe at 16 minutes, your mind's finally clear, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's the Dalai Lama who said, if you can't meditate for 15 minutes, then you need an hour or something like that. If you can't meditate, then meditate an hour.
Yeah.
I started experiencing so many wonderful things, like spirit guides and angels were coming in, and I was just having like my family members that have passed on show up. And I couldn't discount this because it was so real for me. And my analytical brain was like, how could this be happening? Well, then one of my I thought, this is not real. Like, I'm just imagining this or something. But a friend of mine, her brother went missing in Brazil. And I know that this is more of a psychic connection, but her brother was missing in Brazil and nobody could find him. He was gone for like more than 24 hours or something like that. And I just told her, you know what? I'm just going to try. I'm going to check in and see if I could see anything. And I said, I see this guy. He's laying in the grass. He looks like he's partied hard. He looks like his hair is wet. And he has something around his wrist, like a black string around his wrist. So I see him. He looks alive. And then they found him. He had been swindled by some people who gave him some, drugs in his coffee. It made him feel crazy. They took his phone and stuff like that. But he ended up, he was fine. He was physically fine. But they took stuff from him, So he ended up actually in a park on the grass. It had been raining. It rained on him. And he was in fact, he had been partying with them. So I asked my friend, ask him if he had anything around his wrist. And she said, did you have anything around your wrist? I said, yeah, I had a black ponytail holder around my wrist.
Oh my God.
I was like, whoa, what did I experience there? That's amazing. So that was kind of you get these as you're journeying through this, connecting and learning how to connect. I feel that spirit will give you these little nuggets of validation. This is real. This is real. Keep going. And it just makes you want more and more and more. So I started experiencing so many of those things. And basically that's how it started for me.
Mm-hmm. Was there any, you said you started teaching yourself, were there any books or anything, for other folks to check out perhaps?
I actually had, from the beginning, Spirit told me, you don't read anything. Don't ask anyone anything. You sit here, you're going to learn with us. Because I had spent most of my life being a people pleaser, and I had spent most of my life going outside of myself. What I really needed to do was go within myself. And Spirit knew that. So they were literally don't study anybody or anything. Don't watch any videos. You don't need anyone right now. You just need to sit and meditate. And I did it every single day for months. And I even let my husband know. And my health was very depleted at that point. I was experiencing a lot of health problems as well. And I said to him, this is when I need to rest. I know I've been out there going crazy in the yard. I know that I have been working all these years, during her journey. It was a 4 or 5 year journey. It's all a blur. But, supporting her, supporting other people in my family, my son, he also has, I want to say that my son also has an almost equally traumatic story, but that's not one he likes to share too much. So I was supporting him in that journey as well. And I was so depleted. And I let him know I'm going to have to take this time. And he was so supportive. He is my rock. He was right there supporting me during that time so that I would have this ability. I had the privilege. Not everyone has the privilege of taking that time for themselves. And thank goodness I had the privilege of that in that moment of my life. So.
Yeah. And, people, like you said too, everybody has the ability, but everybody has the ability to be a doctor or a lawyer, but maybe should they be? Maybe not. So even though you have the ability, it's not for everyone either to maybe do like us, helping people in the public too. Maybe it's for something else. Maybe you use it in your job or other things to help divinely guide you.
Right.
And one thing I do see a lot too in my work is, especially people that have lost children, you really have that block up, like I can't sense, I can't feel them. And I would say, the loss of a child is one of the most profound losses that anyone will ever experience. I'm not trying to discredit any other loss, but when you are a parent and you lose that part of you, I just see it with so many people. So is there any helpful hints for people maybe to help, to get a deeper connection with their child on the other side?
Well, one thing I do want to say before talking about the connection is when you find yourself in that moment where everything is so overwhelming emotionally and you don't even see how you can survive this. Like one of my friends who experienced cancer, she told me, Tamara, it just is. That's it. It just is. You're not going to change anything by worrying. You're not going to, it's not going to change anything. So like, try not to fret. It's okay to like still have fun. It's okay to stop thinking about it sometimes. You don't have to be constantly thinking about it because that's the problem. But no, to connect with your child, you were saying like, I talk to her all the time. I talk out loud. And when you connect with spirit, when spirit is connecting with you, it's very subtle. Some people think you're going to get this giant booming voice. I did get a giant booming voice, but that's not the norm at all. You might just feel all of a sudden you might think about them, or all of a sudden you might be thinking some time that you had together. And in that moment, you were like brushing your teeth and like getting ready for work. You weren't thinking you were gonna, be thinking about these memories or whatever, but all of a sudden it's like, remember that time when, and it's like they're just tapping in there with you and you remember that. But also you might feel like they're present, and you'll look and you'll be like, well, they're not there, but they kind of feel there. You'll feel this kind of comfort of them. So I experienced things like that. And I would say, don't look for giant things. Look for really subtle things and tell them, I want to feel you. I want to get a sign from you. And then watch for it. And when you get it, believe it. And as my mentor says, don't wait for the signier sign. Like, can you give me a signier sign than that? Like,
yes.
And I'm talking about Danielle Serene, by the way. She's my mentor, Squamish medium. So she, she would give me these little feathers and little moments of comfort. And that's how I initially experienced her, and I just had to believe it. If you don't allow yourself to believe it and you just let your brain get in the way, your brain is not where that connection comes from, right? So your brain gets in there and it's like, well, this couldn't be possible because X, Y, Z. Yeah. Just tell your brain to shut up.
Yeah.
I was present with me and this is how I'm experiencing it. And just believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, people try to grasp, like you said, for those big aha things too. And it's not always going to be that. So, yeah. Yep. No, that's great advice.
It's really rare that I've experienced giant spiritual things. They're amazing when they happen, but it's usually like very subtle.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, with the work that we do, you see miracles every day. And I try not to take it for granted, but like you do kind of get used to it. But it's pretty awesome though. Like, yeah, we see him every day.
I know it is.
So it's like there's more out there. There definitely is. So yeah. And why do people get so wrapped up and get in their heads too? Perhaps there's a part of them that needs some healing so they can really release whatever they need to release and connect on a deeper level too. Maybe that's what it's saying. If you're having a hard time connecting, maybe there's something blocking that. So
yeah, absolutely. One of the, I had an experience that I won't get into too much because I'm still keeping it close to myself because I'm just still processing, I guess. But one of the experiences that I had was I just asked Spirit, like, why am I able to do this now? Like, what is this about? Why am I all of a sudden getting these strong connections and seeing all this stuff? And they basically let me know, like, it's because you've went through hell and you survived, and you've fulfilled these human sort of conditions in a way that you grew from them and you expanded beyond them rather than getting trapped in that. So I know that is really what it was they were healing journeys. They were all things that helped me to, because when this starts happening, as probably you have experienced the same thing, you have to go through a lot of healing to be able to have this connection. And sometimes it's not comfortable at all. It is not comfortable. So I had times where I had, visions where I was literally looking at myself as a child, hugging myself as a child, and telling myself, just flipping that script. Like, you were not a victim, you were a badass. You navigated that childhood. You're amazing. So it's like it flipped those scripts and just kind of restructured my thoughts on who I was and what I had done. And I think that had to happen in order for me to believe this and to have this connection.
Yeah.
And to help other people.
Yeah. And it's getting to the root of the issues too. The root of the, the traumas. It's hard to walk back into the traumas, but that's what's necessary to heal. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your trauma alchemy. I don't know exactly what that is either.
What does trauma alchemy mean? Well, like I said, I experienced a lot of things in my life that people would be like, whoa, how did you walk through that? Like, how are you sane? I wouldn't say I'm sane all the time, but how are you sane? How are you like a functioning human who is able to, live life when I was raised, in poverty? My mother was a drug addict at the time, and I was in a lot of dangerous situations. I navigated a lot of things like that. Now I can't remember your question. Tell me again, Melissa.
About the trauma alchemy and what it is and what are you doing with it? I almost forgot too. I don't know. Spirit's messing with us, so we're on the spot.
Well, my brain just loses things all the time. It's fine. I'm okay with myself. So it was that flip, right? That flip that we make, like, wow, I could be a victim of trauma and move through life hurting in this deep way and never approaching that level of like healing that I need to be able to do the things I'm doing, or I can actually like walk through the fire and do what I need to do to heal myself. So when your child is dying, let me tell you what happens to you on the other side of that. You become a mountain. You become a polar bear, right? You experience such deep levels of pain that you had no idea were possible. Such deep levels of fear that I went through a lot of fear in my childhood, but nothing compares to losing my daughter. So I could have taken that experience and just disappeared inside myself. I could have turned to substances. I could have, I had a lot of thoughts about things, like I'm a human. I have thought like, wow, maybe this is too much. Maybe I should just check out somehow. But instead I had to face the fear of it and I had to walk through it. Nobody was going to make this softer for me. There's no possibility of that. I had to walk through it. And when you walk through that journey, though terrifying, then on the other side of it, there is this powering up, this leveling up, really. And what I noticed was that the more that I helped people in my life, the more I felt better. The more I felt that grief lift off of me, The grief will be with me forever, but it lightened it. So when you can take your pain and instead of letting it suck you down and under, you alchemize it into something beautiful, which is living. That's what my daughter would want me to do. She wants me to have this amazing life. Like she taught me to take care of myself. She taught me that I was worthy of a good life. She taught me all of these things through her life. Why would I waste that by not moving through this fear, moving through my terror, and coming out on the other side and saying, okay, now what am I going to do with this?
Yeah.
Because I leveled up for a reason. I experienced this for a reason. She came into my life for a reason. We had this beautiful dance together for a reason.
Yeah.
So here I am, and my goal is to help people in any way I can. And Spirit let me know that there are multiple ways that I can help people. So that's what I'm doing now.
That's amazing. Yeah. Don't waste her legacy, her the value of her life with, not doing anything,
Right.
Yeah. And I see that so much too with people, just the woe is me card. And now what do I do? My life is basically over when, life is about connecting and helping each other through things, that's what it should be. So, but I, still putting myself in your shoes, I can't imagine. So like this had to really come from deep within to be able to pick yourself back up and then give to other people. Like amazing.
Yeah.
So, in what ways through your work? So you've got your herb shop that you've got that established, brick and mortar. You bring people in. You've got all the different kinds of herbs that you sell, and then we've got her Facebook page up there. Give her a like and follow. So they also come in for readings too now. So yeah.
That was really not on the card. Like that wasn't in my plan at all. Like that wasn't part of this initially. That was a strange journey too. So like I said, the first connections I had were with plants. I've connected with trees. I had several encounters with plants that I was like, this plant just talked to me, like somehow this plant just communicated with me. And they would tell me how they could be used. They would tell me who they were for. I would journey with trees and get these really deep messages. This was before my daughter ever, experienced cancer. So I knew that I could do that. And then I became a clinical herbalist. I went to school through David Winston's herbal program for clinical herbalism. And in fact, I went through it twice because in the end of the first program, that's when my daughter was passing away. So I went through this 2-year program twice so that I could not just, take people out on plant walks and help my family, but so that I could help my community with this. And what I discovered was that I was going to have to, basically, I soft opened my practice, and I brought in a few people, and I did their assessments, and I did their herbal protocols. And what I realized was that they were going to have to spend between $200 to $600 a month to have an herbal protocol. And almost no one that I want to help has that kind of money. That's not possible in most of the people that I work with. That's not possible in their lives. So I realized at that point that was not going to work for me. And also I needed to find a space to work out of, because I wasn't going to be able to use my home. The city of Galena wouldn't let me do that. So Spirit told me, go out there and look for a space. And I said, this is Galena. Like, they're very expensive spaces, Spirit. I don't have that money. And it was just about trusting and doing what Spirit wanted me to do. Go out and look, just see. And they also said to me, you have way more to offer than just herbalism. And I'm like, what? This is my path. I went to school. What are you telling me? Like, they're like, no, you're multifaceted. You have a lot of things that you can do. So go out there, look for a space. And I was like, okay, well, I had it in my head, like maybe I could share a space with somebody. And I started looking at a few spaces, and I found a space, and Spirit brought to me, you can actually like have a shop and then you can do your other work too. Like you can have an herb shop. And I thought, herb shop? Okay, well, I don't have money for that. Okay, I'm just going to trust. So they still kept saying, and you're going to do so much more. There's going to be so much more. Yeah. So I really wanted to have classes. That was a big thing. So I was thinking to myself, like, oh yeah, I'll have classes and maybe I'll sell herbs. And the funny thing is that I'm not a big consumer. I buy all used clothes. I buy used everything. I don't buy things new. I walk as gently as I can, on this planet. It's really important to me. So they're showing me like that I should have a retail shop. And I'm thinking, well, I got to do it my way. It's got to be sustainable. I only want organic herbs if I can get them. And I don't want to sell a lot of plastic things. I don't want to sell, anything that's going to be really harmful or polluting. And they're like, just go, they just kept encouraging me, like, you can do this. So I went and I got a loan, and I decided, okay, I'm going to have this herb shop, and I'll like incorporate my magic life with it too. And the funny thing about that is that they kept bringing that to me. And I was saying, no, nobody's going to take me serious as a clinical herbalist if I'm also incorporating like the magic side and the, the spiritual side. And clear as day, I heard, for thousands of years it has been so.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was laughing about it. I was laughing at myself. Like, of course it has. Of course it has. But I didn't want people to devalue my knowledge,
Right.
So
right.
I just trusted, and I incorporated the magic stuff, and I, brought in the spiritual side of herbs and the clinic of herbs. And then I thought that I would have readers in here. And so I had specific people in mind who had kind of been booted out of the place that they'd been reading for decades. And I said, I have a space. It's yours. You can come read here on the weekends if you want to. And something would always say, like, be no. Like, it just, no. I could find nobody. I was searching everywhere, and I could find nobody. The ones that I really wanted. I asked them like 3 or 4 times. And in fact, even their family member asked them. Like, we kept trying to bring them in, but it just wasn't going to work out for them because they had other things going on in their lives. And I kept being called to do it. And I had been reading tarot for friends for a very long time. And I already knew that I was really accurate with tarot. So I thought, well, I'll start doing tarot readings, you know, like it's just a little tarot reading. And then I'd be doing tarot readings and mom would pop in, you know. I'm like, what is going on here? Like this is not what I'm here. I didn't mean for this part to happen, you know. But this is happening for me. And so I've just been the whole time just been prodded by spirit, like, yes, you are. This is what you're doing. And it's amazing the healing. Obviously, you have experiences so much in your work with people. You're such a healing force for me because, you know, initially you told me my daughter's cancer was back, but then I came back again and you were telling me, you know, bringing me messages from her because initially I couldn't connect that way. You know, and in fact, my daughter's best friend came to you. She said that woman needs to be showered in. She told me that about you. She needs to be showered in jewels. I don't know why people.
Oh, I'll tell her thank you.
She felt so much healing from the reading with you, also. So these are, you know, it's a time when someone comes in and they think they're going to be entertained. Really, they come into the shop and they think, oh, fun, let's do a tarot reading, and they come and they sit at this table with me and they experience something completely they had no idea they were going to experience. It's always a healing sort of thing. People come in here and they're dealing with things that I've been through in my life. They're dealing with, you know, drug addictions. They're dealing with abusive partners. They're dealing with losing really close people to them. They are struggling. And I'm able to help them see a way forward by channeling spirit for them. So it just feeds me to help them. It helps me, right? Because if I couldn't help other people, I would be stuck in my house right now, terrified of the world. I really think that the people are what bring me out of my house. The people are what, you know, bring me into this shop. And I am just so honored that I'm capable of helping people in this way. And then I'm like, oh, I noticed that you have a cough too. I've got herbs for that. Let's go over here. Yes. Or anxiety, you know, they're like, I feel that my strength is really in, you know, helping people deal with anxiety and deal with depression and, you know, those mental health, sort of brain health things, because I have dealt with them. And in my expertise with herbalism, that's kind of where I would say my niche is.
Yeah. And you've got so many different herbs in there. It's amazing the variety you have. And you were talking about the packaging. When I brought home my herbs, I'm like, oh my gosh, like the packaging was made out of like corn, or was it something like that?
Corn plastic, yes.
Corn plastic. Like, oh. So very unique, very cool. Yes.
Yeah, I had to do a lot of homework and shuffle things around because I thought I'd be able to just like have bulk herbs that people could scoop out of. Oh no, there's like all these rules. So I have to package them. So I was not about to package them in plastic. There's no way. And in fact, when I get in and like a new line into the shop and it comes to me like packaged in all kinds of plastic, I'm like, well, we're never selling that line again. Like that's it. So I'm really strict about things like that here.
That's good to know. Good for people to know out there too that are, you know, choosy about where they, you know, get their things too. So
yeah. Like, I don't want you to have to think too hard. Let me think hard for you.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yep. It's all done. Everything's measured out, ready to go. And So Deb Finn had a comment here about you need to do a class on this. And I think she was talking about the trauma alchemy. So that would be great. I think
Yeah,
if you could come up with some
possibly.
kind of a curriculum or.
I am being kind of like drawn to a specific sort of idea that I have. But at the time, I opened my shop last year, and I knew that I would sacrifice that year to the gods of opening a shop. You know, like, okay, here you go, here's my life, because here I'm going to be. So I am now in this year, I'm bringing in, staff and getting a rhythm so that I can have off time again. I haven't really had that. So right now I have like not a lot of spoons.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
learning
You gotta.
spoons for
Yeah.
things. But right now I'm currently teaching a home herbalist foundations class. It's going amazing. It's my first one. I love them so much. We're having a great time, and that ends in a few weeks. And then I've kind of got, like I said, something brewing that would incorporate actually spirituality and herbalism and getting through hard things. That's
Okay.
it's like going to incorporate all of that, but it's still formulating in my head. But I do intend to go where spirit wants me to go really with this. That's honestly, I'm spirit led. Like if spirit says not right now, then I'm like, okay. One of the things that people keep asking is, can I put my classes online? And every time I check in with spirit, they're like, no, this needs to be about community. People need to come in and be together again. We need to form those bonds again and mend those rifts. Those, we have scars from the past few years. We have.
Oh yeah, there is. So we just have a couple more minutes here. So can you kind of just tell us what events you have going on at your shop right now? Anything coming up?
Well, like I said, I don't have anything on the calendar quite yet. In the summer, in the late summer, I will have this second Home Herbalist Foundations class, but that one will be more focused on foraging, plant identification, harvesting from your garden, making medicine outdoors with your plants. It's going to be more outdoor focused that way, whereas this one was, in your house, what are you going to use with your family? How are you going to use them? That kind of thing. So you can actually take them separately. I wanted them to be so that you could take them separately. And I always will offer scholarships. I had 2 scholarships. I really would prefer for them to go to people, BIPOC people, or people who are single parents and they're struggling and they're low income. Those scholarships are available. My goal is to really help people not just heal their wounds, but to also, as far as herbalism go, to like demystify it, because this is really part of our heritage. This is something that we should all know, and it's literally been ripped from our lives by consumerism. It's been ripped from our lives by the need to profit off of medicine and profit off of health. And I don't think that that's where we need to be. So I would like to empower people to help themselves and help their own families. That's what I'm here to do. So I have lots of stuff in the works, but I'm just one person. So I'm taking it easy. I deserve a little bit of a break this year, but things are going to get, we're definitely going to expand and move down the street eventually. And, it's going to be a journey that I'm just open for. I'm excited for it.
Well, we're excited for you too, and keep forging the way forward. So we're coming to an end here. Thank you so much for sharing about your story here. And hopefully we've, people that have listened to this are inspired themselves, especially those that have lost children. So if you are in the Galena area, stop by Tamara's shop, Enchanted Herb, right on the main street towards the end. It's a really cute shop. You will not be disappointed. So thank you so much. Stay online after we're done. And you have a great night. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I've enjoyed this experience so much, and I just love you so much, Melissa. Thank you for being, supporting, and I'm just so blessed to have met you.
You too. Thank you so much. All righty. Good night, guys.